Hi guys, what are we going to do today? Can you see? We are going to work with some fun metal trim and we are going to make these crowns. Let's get started. So I'm using this 18-inch piece of embossed galvanized tin and I cut the edges so they're like this. So when I wrap it over, overlap to attach it. So what I want is I wanted an even number of circles when they overlapped and an even number of florals when they overlap. I'm going to just show you what I did and how I pieced it, but depending on what you have, you may come up with your own ideas. So I am just going to lay this aside right here for right now. I am going to cut just separate florals out. So this is more of this ribbon I have, this metal ribbon, and I want to cut 18 of these floral pieces out that I am going to use. Now depending how you want to cut it, you could cut like this, you could save the ball trim, you could save these circle pieces to use for another project up here at the top and kind of try to get it as rounded as you can. You could keep the heart, but I'm cutting this heart off the top. And when you're cutting these out, if you're just going to cut a lot of these out, you could also just kind of cut in between so you have a smaller piece to work with. And if you have any sharp edges, you can either sand these or carefully trim them up a little bit with your scissors. So this is what this looks like. And we're going to bend them a tad bit. But you need 18 of these if you're doing this size of a crown with this trim. So first thing I'm going to do is cut the top off of this. I'm cutting off that circle and then I'm going around these florals to make the top of the crown. And I'm just using regular scissors. A few of the edges that are a little sharp, you can either sand or cut to smooth out. So I have this nice fun edge. So this is where we're going to put all the flowers that we've cut. I'm actually going to bend the two sides up just a little bit and I am going to glue them every other flower. So let me line this up to see where I'm going to start. So I know where I'm going to start because this is overlapping and I want it on this one. So there's one and then I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to use that one. Not that one, I'm going to use that one. I'm just going to find a spot in the center. So right here is where I will glue my first one. So I'm using this 2-part epoxy and it works on metal and you have to mix both together. And then you have to mix it really, really well. And it sets in 5 minutes. Put a bit on the back of each flower and I am using a clothespin. So depending on the design of it, you can embellish it however you would like, as much or as little. So I'm going to let these set and dry first before I put my top pieces. So the epoxy has set on here pretty well, and I feel like this is going to work. It will probably even get a little bit harder, but I feel like it's staying on very nicely. So now I can put these pieces on, and what I'm going to do is these top 2 corners are going underneath these 2. It's over the circle. So I'm going to put my glue on the front of this embellishment and then I am going to lay it behind these pieces. So the actual structure of the crown, those pieces will be on top of the piece coming up. There, we'll let those set. So now I'm just going to glue just this edge over the top of that. So I'm just overlapping this one edge that we had cut out in the beginning over the top. And I am going to pin this together. So I have a piece of this trim that's a little bit different. myself a little bit of an excess. So what I'm going to do is put my epoxy across the bottom of this edge. I think that's good. So what we're going to do, I'm going to roll this just a little smaller than I need. I'm just going to let this set till it grabs really, really well, and then we'll start doing our finishing. So this is all dry and it's put together. If I grabbed it and ripped it apart, I could probably get this apart, but I think this epoxy, two-part epoxy worked really well with this. So there are so many ways you could paint or finish this. You could use just a blocking patina agent and put it over the top, and it would make this just look much, much darker. Or you could paint it any color you want. They even have patinas that you paint bronze paint and then use the patinas. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint this with bead board. It's my DIY paint. And then I'm just going to age it. So this paint really does stick well. I'm almost surprised how easily this went on. So I'm gonna do the inside and the outside. And when I get the first coat to dry, I'll decide if I want a second coat. So the paint is dry on this, and I am gonna put a sealer on it, and I'm just using polyacrylic Minwax, just a crystal clear sealer to seal the top of this. And I'm gonna seal the inside and the outside, and when it's dry, we are gonna do our aging. So my polyurethane is dry on this. I'm going to put a coat of this letterpress gray over this. So I'm using my DIY paint because I'm going to be wiping it back, and I know this clay-based paint will wipe back very easily and just fill in to the crevices where I want it. Okay, I'm going to let this dry. And then we're gonna wipe it back. So my paint had dried and I've just been rubbing this back. I'm trying to get some of the gray off, and a baby wipe does that very easily. So you're gonna continue this till you get the look that you like. So take off as much as you would like to take off. And if for some reason you take too much off, you can always go back in and add a little more gray paint and then continue on doing this again. As long as you sealed it, it is keeping the white paint on here from underneath. So I've wiped back everything I wanted to wipe back, and then I'm going to add my Distress Oxide Vintage Photo, and I'm just gonna go over the edges of this in different areas. Now I'm going to seal it. And when I seal it, it's going to move the distressing around also. And once again, I'm using my Minwax Polyacrylic Crystal Clear Sealer. You can see how that just kind of moves the distressing around. And after you finish sealing the whole thing, we're just gonna let it dry. I hope you guys had fun watching me do this project. It's just a different way you can use some things and make it your style. So if you have any metal trim or trim of any type, you can see how we put it together, but I bet now you can see different ways you could do your own thing. And you can see down here, we made this one a lot darker and we used some gold wax, so you can get so many different looks. I hope you guys give this a try, but whatever you do, have fun.